Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Aftab Iqbal to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Aftab Iqbal's words. Today's situation is extremely grave and deeply concerning, due to which I've had to do a live transmission after quite a while. The war between Iran and Israel is entering its next phase. By now you all know that Iran has retaliated with an attack, and such an attack with such intensity that apparently 14 regions of Israel lit up. But this is not something to rejoice over. Human lives are being lost on both sides, and we cannot celebrate that. However, the way things had developed and the way Israel had indulged in open arrogance and high-handedness at every step, every ordinary and elite person, Muslim or non-Muslim, was feeling that Israel needed to be reined in. Sadly, I have to say that no one in the entire Muslim world stepped up. No one paid attention to this situation, and Iran had to take it upon itself. Yesterday, Iran suffered a massive loss, and this is not the first time. The grief of Ismail Haniyeh's family was still fresh. The wounds were still open when a new series of events began. A few key figures, including top army officials, were targeted and martyred so easily. That was a deeply tragic and heartbreaking loss which Iran sustained yesterday. Since then, we've seen that Iran was in a state of continuous mourning, but you all knew, even more than I did, that Iran would definitely retaliate by tonight. I was on an outdoor travel shoot and kept telling my team repeatedly, we should rush back, because I feared that by the time we returned, Iran might have already retaliated. But as usual, my team took too long, believing confidently that nothing ever happens to your live transmission. But exactly what I feared did happen. About 4 hours before my live broadcast, everything had already occurred. Anyway, people had been preparing and anticipating this since yesterday. In today's discussion, I will try to explain the latest situation and its immediate consequences. So let's begin with the most recent development. You know by now that a counterattack has taken place, and it has been extremely severe. That Iron Dome illusion, the environment they had created around it, today, just like before, its weakness was exposed. But today, Iran proved that when Iranians do something, it's not like anything you've seen before. The little firecracker-style rockets from Hamas can be intercepted mid-air. But this is a different matter altogether. Iran's technology is remarkable. They have hypersonic missiles, and you know how far hypersonic missiles can reach. Today, Iran showed how far they can go, and there's another incredible technique. They launched many missiles without warheads, which no detection system can currently identify as real or fake. So you end up wasting your defense resources on blank missiles, and by the time the real ones come in, your system is nearly depleted. That's the condition Israel is about to face because Iran retaliated in a way Israel never expected. And that is why pressure is now being put on Iran to de-escalate the situation, to reduce the tension. The Iranian foreign minister, however, clearly stated just a while ago in response to a highly foolish suggestion made by Mr. Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister addressed the Iranian people, urging them to throw out their government. See how it's leading you to destruction. Writers and journalists in Iran are beautifully responding to this, saying, how ignorant is the Israeli Prime Minister? How unaware is he of history? He has no clue that we belong to the lineage of Cyrus the Great and who we follow. He doesn't understand the hardships we've endured to reach this point. We have sacrificed everything. Our bodies, our minds, our wealth, for our pride and our honor. We are standing with our shrouds on our heads, prepared for martyrdom. And now you tell us to overthrow our government? Whether we support the government or not right now, Iranians are united, because you challenged Iran from the safety of your home. Not just challenged, you attacked it. And the government's official statement in the form of a tweet was very sober and beautiful. It said, let the world remember that Iran has not retaliated yet. So whatever happens now, the responsibility will not be ours, because we did not start this. This is a very important point, ladies and gentlemen, because in the days to come, this will be a decisive factor. Who started it and why? We'll talk about this further. What was the purpose behind it? Was that objective achieved? Or did you, in fact, push that objective aside and give Iran an excuse to accelerate its efforts? In that case, who really won, you or Iran? That's an interesting question, and we will discuss it. And now, the very latest update, which I am giving you at this very moment. The news I am receiving is not through TV channels, but through sources that have been assigned this responsibility, that have been specifically informed. All right then, let's now come to the most recent update. The point I was about to make earlier, but had to pause. My desire is that if we are live, then you should receive the latest information. So, regarding the death toll, the official numbers vary, 25, 26, sometimes 30. These figures fluctuate, but in reality, the actual death toll seems much higher. I fear that. And this is not something to be happy about. Wherever human life is lost, it is tragic. Nevertheless, one thing we can say to Israel is, you asked for it. The latest update is that Israeli forces are now going door to door, requesting and ordering people not to share videos or pictures of the destruction. In other words, they don't want the world to see that their Iron Dome has once again turned into a doomsday scenario, so clearly the damage is far greater than Israel is admitting. Now, moving ahead, I would like to pay special tribute to the Iranian forces and government, not only because they are fighting Israel, but also because they are indirectly fighting against all of Europe and also the United States. In modern warfare, signal intelligence, SIGINT, the exchange of signals and telecommunication intelligence, is crucial. Like avionics and aerodynamics, it is an essential element. So if you've intercepted and shared a signal, you've already achieved something major, which means America is surely helping Israel. There's no doubt in my mind. And on that basis, I think it's a major achievement that Iran has recovered from the wounds of yesterday and stood tall again by today. As for what happened earlier in Tehran, this was just like the spiderweb operation Zelensky launched against Russia. Everything was already in place, activated remotely. That's old news now. We're talking about what's happening at this very moment. Now we'll also be taking questions from the focus group and from those watching online. If there are any interesting questions worth addressing, I'll request the PCR, the production control room, to select them accordingly. So now, what's next? Where will this situation go? First, the counterattack has already taken place. Israel carried out this so-called preemptive strike to prevent Iran from making nuclear weapons or reaching a certain stage. But ironically, these strikes have now given Iran the justification to accelerate its nuclear ambitions. Things it was planning to do tomorrow, it can do today. You know how Iran has dealt with the NPT, the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and what kind of relationship it has shown. When we talk about the open market, certain names, although I won't mention them now, come to mind. But one name stands out: North Korea. Widely known for having a large inventory of nuclear material and for facilitating such matters. If Iran seeks help, North Korea will be ready and capable of assisting. So, my question, and it's directed not only at the Israeli establishment, but also the world media, is: if Iran now rapidly moves forward and not only acquires but also develops nuclear weapons, what will be your response? Because yesterday's strikes didn't hurt Iran's nuclear sites at all, not even a little. You killed generals, scientists and civilians, and disabled its air defense systems and caused destruction. But did you achieve your goal? It's just like how Bush went searching for weapons of mass destruction and eventually had to come back empty-handed. Now, Israel has no justification for why it presented this excuse to Iran. Netanyahu will be asked this question. In fact, just as he offered advice to Iranians, a piece of advice should now go from Iran to Israeli intellectuals. Ask yourselves, what were you thinking? Why did you suddenly poke Iran? Iran is this close to becoming a nuclear weapons state. French President Emmanuel Macron said something similar not long ago. I just saw it again recently. And a former Israeli Prime Minister also said that Iran is so close that even if America tries, it can only delay them by a few weeks. But America doesn't really want to stop them, or at least isn't saying so. America is caught in a catch-22. They are doing everything but not acknowledging it. We've never seen America so powerless before. This confused behavior is, well, unprecedented. This is another aspect of the modern times we're in. Now, there's another consequence developing. Just like the India-Pakistan conflict, this Middle East war theatre has also become a testing ground for modern war technologies, Western, Chinese and Russian. You're witnessing live testing, and we are the guinea pigs. This current war in the Middle East is now part of that. And it's important to note that, in the Ukraine war, the Muslim country that supported Russia the most was Iran. So, how could it be possible that Russia wouldn't now support Iran, especially when Iran needs it so desperately? Even if that support didn't come, Iran would still have fought back, because you and I both know that Iran is different from other Muslim nations. That's what sets it apart. Now, another general but important point, neither Netanyahu nor Trump considered the long-term consequences of what seems like a limited war. There are 3 or 4 major danger zones in this war region. The Strait of Hormuz, or Abna-e-Hormuz, a key shipping route. Bab el-Mandeb, near Yemen, leading into the Red Sea, where the Houthis are in control. The Suez Canal, also within missile range. These are all narrow passages, critical choke points, and part of this war zone. Now, after listening to all of this, economic experts will naturally analyze how this will affect the global economy. Oil prices will skyrocket, possibly up to $120 per barrel. The most dangerous part? The biggest victims will be Europe and the United States. There was a time when even China's supply chains came from this region, and disruptions caused huge problems. But now China hasn't even blinked in this matter. Why? First, China is already moving away from fossil fuels. Second, its current industrial machine runs largely on Russian supplies. So China isn't worried. In the end, Europe and America will suffer, because neither Trump nor Netanyahu anticipated this. They were saying just yesterday that this will only go on for a few weeks. But now Iran is using blank missile salvos to further expose the flaws in Israel's Iron Dome. And as this continues, Israel will get more and more vulnerable, while Iran continues unaffected, because it has its own oil and benefits from this situation. As of now, Iran hasn't used the Strait of Hormuz as a weapon of war, but it can, just like it did during the Iran-Iraq War. You'll have to go back 40 to 50 years to understand how effective that was. They have hypersonic missiles. If you didn't know this before, you surely know it now. And not only do they have them, but they've also used them with remarkable effectiveness. That you should be aware of. So what will they do next? They will target the Haifa port. Their next target is that port. If it's attacked and disabled, then consider Israel's supply line to be completely severed. Then Tel Aviv. They won't attack American installations. Iran is not that foolish. In fact, Iran is not foolish at all. Third, they'll strike Israel's nuclear sites as a tit-for-tat response. Israel did it, now Iran will do the same. But Iran hasn't kept all of this in one place. Their facilities are hidden in the mountains, and the mountains serve as a massive natural shield. Perhaps Israel has done the same, but we'll have to see how effective that is. If there are any questions, please let me know along the way and I'll respond. Now, an important factor, which I believe may have gone unnoticed by many, and well, many may even disagree with me, just like in yesterday's discussion, where I talked about the formation of a third bloc. Mark my words, what happened yesterday and what is happening today may become the foundation of a third bloc, a united Muslim front. Because if this can happen to Iran, it can happen to anyone. Hence, you will soon see a united Muslim front taking shape, especially immediately after Pakistan and India settle their own disputes. Another key point, let's discuss the consequences of this. Right now, things are quiet. There's no breaking development at this exact moment to comment on, but still, what will the outcome be? This is an inconclusive war. There will be no major result in a day or two, or even in a few weeks. Except one thing. As I've said before, Iran will accelerate its pace. That attack which Israel carried out recently, Iran will now use that as an excuse under the cover of this war, not only to achieve its nuclear goals, but very likely to conduct a nuclear test as well. You can imagine yourself what Iran's position is, and what Israel's position is in this scenario. Another disturbing point, again, this one is concerning for Israel and the US. There is no exit strategy. I was honestly surprised at this, but my surprise has lessened after seeing Netanyahu's thinking. The level of thought there is not much above that of Donald Trump. The use of IQ seems similarly limited. What did they think, really? Just launch an attack on Iran? It reminds me of 1986, when they sent F-15s or F-16s to attack a nuclear site in Iraq at Osirak and completely destroyed it. Did they think Iran would be that easy? They tried something similar with Kahuta in Pakistan, and were then told that all eggs are not in one basket. If you attack Kahuta, there are 20 other sites, and you won't be able to stop anything. At that time, they understood. But here they have no mechanism to conclude this, so they'll suffer more. Channel 13 in Israel had a discussion with officials earlier, which I believe has now been stopped or deleted from their website. No one had anticipated that things would escalate to this level. Officials said that what we've seen in Tel Aviv in such a short time is unprecedented. Something like this has never happened before. Brick by brick, that's how Iran hit back, especially the building housing Israel's defense ministry. It was directly struck. This is not a small event. Iran's foreign minister has now stated clearly that Iran has no intention to de-escalate, because now the arrow has left the bow. Earlier, maybe there could have been talks. If you had spoken to us before attacking, perhaps it could have been slowed. But that time has passed. The UN was imposing sanctions, mocking us, trying to suppress us. But in doing so, they actually gave us the opportunity to prepare. So now we do not intend to back down. Go to The Economist's website if you're interested. They've written some very insightful things. There's no doubt that Israel's regime has been badly damaged by what Iran did recently. But what Iran can still do to Israel, that may be something even Israel and the United States don't fully understand. Breaking news. Iran has fired a third wave of ballistic cruise and hypersonic missiles towards Israel. Yes, this is the latest update. I had already requested help, digital, analog, whatever, to confirm this, and here it is. Iran has launched another barrage of ballistic and hypersonic missiles at Israel. The consequences will be disastrous. I've said this before. Israel started this, but now its ending is no longer in Israel's hands. Now let me check. Some questions have come in. First question, is this heading towards World War III? My answer is no, I don't think so. This is not the threshold of a world war. This is not a global conflict. It's a war between two countries. Yes, there have been miscalculations by both Israel and the United States, but calling it the beginning of World War III is honestly an exaggeration. There's always a fear among people that a third world war might start, but you know, every war affects everyone. What happened in Ukraine and Russia affected us directly and indirectly. Same with this. As oil prices rise, won't we be affected? Of course we will. So yes, we will be affected, but this is not a global war. Second question. Can this conflict end soon? As I've already said, chances are very low. Iran's foreign minister has said this clearly. Don't tell us to de-escalate now, because where were you all when we were attacked? Who condemned it? Who criticized Israel? No one did. So now don't lecture us. Secondly, you started this. We will end it. New update, occupied Jerusalem. Explosions have been heard there too. This is the fourth attack. This is sad news. It's disturbing because it's the first Qibla of Muslims. Regardless of who is involved, we cannot help but express our grief and sorrow. But the situation is clearly escalating, not de-escalating. So far, those are the questions. That wraps up our translation of Aftab Iqbal's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.